The day I realized my whole family was using me wasn't dramatic, it was a power bill. Just one red envelope. That's all it took to break an entire illusion I had been maintaining for years. Not a fight, not a dramatic confrontation, not a meltdown, just a piece of mail sitting on a kitchen counter. And somehow, it revealed everything I had been refusing to see. But for that envelope to make sense, you need to understand the world I walked out of that morning. My name is Kesha, 34 years old, vice president at one of the biggest real estate development firms in Atlanta. People like to call me the responsible one, the achiever, the child who made it, the daughter who became something. I've spent 2 decades grinding, climbing, studying, sacrificing, while everyone else around me assumed my success meant automatic safety for them. That morning, I was in a boardroom overlooking the skyline, closing a $200 million redevelopment deal. The kind of deal people build careers around. Lawyers, city planners, architects, all of them looking to me for direction. When the final signatures went on paper, the room erupted in congratulations. Hands shook mine, people praised me. You carried this deal, you're unstoppable, you're a force. And I smiled because that's what successful women do. We smile even when we're exhausted, overwhelmed, and craving peace more than anything. By the time I got into my car after the closing, my heels were punishing my feet, my head was throbbing, and all I wanted was silence. Not celebration, not recognition, just a quiet house, a hot shower, maybe 10 minutes where no one needed me. Instead, I drove 13 minutes toward the one place I should have felt safe, my parents' home. A house built on decades of Black pride, a house that represented everything stable and dignified about my childhood. But lately, it wasn't home, it wasn't peace, it wasn't rest, it had become a burden. A burden shaped exactly like my younger sister, Simone, and her husband, Chad. They had moved in temporarily a month ago after being evicted again. 2 kids, too many excuses, and zero accountability. Every story Simone gave about the eviction contradicted the last. The landlord was racist. The building had mold. The rent increased suddenly. The neighbors were jealous. According to her, everything was someone else's fault, but the truth was simple. Simone always lived beyond her means, and Chad lived beyond reality. As soon as I walked in the door, chaos greeted me like a living creature. Kids' shoes with blinking lights scattered across the floor. Leaning towers of PR boxes Simone claimed were brand collabs. Sticky juice patches under my feet. An abandoned toy lightsaber rolling across the hardwood like it was trying to escape. But the real problem wasn't the mess, it was what the mess represented. The house used to smell like lemon polish and candles. Now it smelled like stale cereal, spilled juice, and toddler chaos. The hallway walls had new artwork drawn in crayon, courtesy of Simone's kids, but the living room was the true tragedy. Chad had transformed it into his studio, a ring light graveyard. Microphones leaning like broken branches, cords snaking everywhere. A cheap folding table covered in vision boards, half-eaten snacks, and notebooks full of ideas he'd never execute. Fake motivational quotes taped crookedly on the walls. Build your legacy, your passion is your paycheck, the grind is spiritual. Meanwhile, this man had never earned more than a few $100s in a single month. I took a slow breath, that exhausted, resigned kind of inhale you take when you're trying not to scream, and walked into the kitchen. I dropped my briefcase on the counter. Its weight echoed exactly how my body felt. Tired, heavy, stretched thin, that's when I saw the stack of mail. Unopened, neglected, messy, and right on top, the red envelope. My stomach tightened. Adults recognize red envelopes like they recognize danger. I picked it up. Past due Georgia Power, final notice before disconnection date. Tomorrow my heartbeat went still. No. I had wired $4,000 to my father 5 days ago, specifically for the mortgage and utilities. I opened my banking app in disbelief. The transfer was there. Clear, correct, completed. So why wasn't the power bill paid? Before the panic could settle, my mother walked in. She didn't even look at my face. Oh, good. You're finally home, she said sharply, opening the fridge. There's nothing in here. Simone's kids are hungry. You should have brought groceries. Groceries, always responsibility. I held up the red envelope. Mom, I said calmly, the power is getting cut off tomorrow. She gave it a 2-second glance and dismissed it with a flick of her hand. Well, your father must have forgotten. You know how he gets distracted. Anyway, the children, I cut her off. Mom, if the power gets shut off, those same children will be sitting in the dark. Before she could answer, Simone entered the kitchen wearing silky loungewear and full glam like she was filming a skincare ad. She barely looked at the overdue notice. "It's just a power bill, Kesha." Then she smirked. "You get dramatic over everything." But what she said next, that was the first real slap of the day. Simone crossed her arms. "You should honestly be grateful you can help. Some of us don't have your privilege." My privilege, the privilege of working nonstop, the privilege of paying everyone's bills, the privilege of shouldering a house full of grown adults who refuse to grow up. Before I could say a word, Chad swaggered into the kitchen eating an apple, one I paid for, naturally. "Kesha, you really need to chill," he said, juice dripping down his wrist. "Money isn't life. You gotta stop letting bills control your mood. You should try following your passion like I'm doing." I stared at him. "My passion? Yeah," he said proudly. "My podcast is about to blow up." It had 38 views, total, not per video, total. I didn't respond, because if I did, I would have said something that would have burned the whole house down. My father finally entered, noticing the envelope in my hand, and for the first time, he looked nervous. "Kesha," he said softly, "I'll take care of it." When I asked, he opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. That was the first moment I knew for sure he wasn't telling me the whole truth. Simone rolled her eyes. "Can we stop talking about a bill? You always make everything bigger than it is." My mother shut the fridge loudly. "Kesha, please go get groceries. We'll deal with this later." Groceries. Again. No one cared about the bill because no one cared about the money because none of them ever paid for anything. I looked at all of them. Simone with her fake influencer life, Chad with his imaginary career, my mother with her emotional blind spots, my father with his silent guilt. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't family. I was their safety net, a silent provider. An endless well, a resource, not a person. The red envelope trembled slightly in my hand, not from fear, from clarity. Everything became painfully obvious. They weren't irresponsible by accident. They were irresponsible because I existed to catch them. They weren't ashamed. They weren't stressed. They weren't scrambling. They were comfortable draining me, comfortable depending on me, comfortable letting me carry the entire house. Something inside me snapped into place. Not anger, not tears, not rage. Something colder, sharper, more final, awakening. My father shifted uncomfortably, rubbing his thumb against his palm, a nervous habit he had when he wasn't telling the whole truth. I watched him carefully. "Daddy," I said quietly, "what did you spend the money on?" He froze. Simone scoffed loudly before he could speak. "Oh my God, Kesha, not everything is about money. You act like you're the only one who contributes anything around here." Chad chuckled. "For real, you're being kinda dramatic." Dramatic, the word hung in the air like smoke. I wasn't dramatic. I was tired of being used. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of being the only adult in a house full of grown children. Before I could respond, Simone added something that genuinely stunned me, something so delusional it actually made me laugh internally. "You really need to stop stressing. This energy isn't healthy. You should be thankful you're able to help us. God blesses people who give. Maybe that's why you're successful." She said it with a straight face. Like my success was a reward for financially supporting them. Like my career existed to subsidize their lifestyle. Like I owed them the life they refused to build for themselves. But it was the next thing she said that lit an actual fire inside me. Simone casually shrugged and murmured, "And honestly, if you're struggling this much, maybe you're living above your means." Above my means, me. The woman paying for 4 extra adults and 2 kids. My mother chimed in with her usual calm dismissal. "Kesha, you always make things harder than they need to be. People forget things. Your father forgot. You'll fix it. Just run to the store for dinner. Fix it like clockwork, like obligation, like my role in the family was predetermined." I finally turned to my father again. "Daddy, where did the money go?" His eyes flickered towards Simone. Barely a second, but I saw it, and suddenly a quiet, terrifying suspicion formed, one that would later turn out to be true. I inhaled slowly, deeply, containing everything rising inside me. I was angry, yes. But beneath the anger was something more unsettling. Sadness, hurt, disappointment that felt like betrayal. I had spent years telling myself my family leaned on me because they trusted me, not because they exploited me. But standing there, watching them dismiss the unpaid bill and expect me to fix everything again, I realized I had been lying to myself. I wasn't being leaned on, I was being drained, and I was letting it happen. I stepped back and simply observed them. Simone scrolling her phone, uncaring. Chad expecting me to fund life while he followed his passion. My mother treating my emotional burnout like a mood swing. My father avoiding my eyes, holding a truth he didn't want to say out loud. It hit me harder than anything else. They didn't respect me. They only needed me. I picked up my keys slowly. Simone looked up. "Where are you going?" I forced a small smile. "To get groceries," I said, but that was a lie. I wasn't going to the grocery store. I was going to start taking my life back. I walked past them, past the toys, past the boxes, past the mess that wasn't mine but had become my responsibility. Every step felt lighter than the one before it. By the time I reached my car, something in me had fully transformed. I wasn't the same woman who walked into that kitchen. I wasn't the reliable fixer. I wasn't the emotional pack mule. I wasn't the financial safety net. I was done. Done sacrificing, done enabling, done carrying everyone but myself. I sat in my car, closed the door, and exhaled, not a sigh of exhaustion, but a breath of clarity. They thought I would panic about the power bill. They thought I would beg, yell, or stress. They thought I would go fix everything, like always. But they had no idea what I was planning. No idea what the next 24 hours would bring. No idea how far I would go to reclaim my peace. They took my kindness as weakness. They took my stability as their entitlement. They took my silence as their permission. But my silence wasn't submission. It was preparation. I looked back at the house, my childhood home, now a symbol of the burden I had been carrying alone. And under my breath, I whispered, "Not anymore." They thought the power bill was the problem, but the real problem was me finally waking up. And once I woke up, nothing in that house would ever be the same again. The moment I pulled out of that driveway, a strange feeling settled over me, freedom. A quiet, trembling freedom. The kind you feel when you finally stop pretending. I didn't turn toward the grocery store. I didn't even pretend to head that direction. Instead, I drove aimlessly at first, letting my mind unravel everything I had been holding together for far too long. The Atlanta streets blurred past, old brick buildings, new developments, neighborhoods shifting through gentrification, all the familiar sights I'd driven past 1,000 times but never really seen. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing anywhere. I wasn't carrying anything. I wasn't responsible for anyone. I was just Kesha. A woman in a car, hands shaking slightly, heart beating fast, realizing she was finally ready to take her life back. But freedom brings clarity, and clarity brings truth. And the truth hit me all at once. I didn't actually know who I was outside of being useful. I had spent so many years being the strong one, the responsible one, the fixer, that the idea of choosing myself felt foreign. Almost scary, I pulled into a quiet park and parked under a tree. The sun was dipping low, painting gold streaks across the sky. Kids played on the swings, couples walked their dogs, joggers passed by with earbuds in. Normal life. Calm life, a life I had forgotten how to have. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes. That's when the guilt hit. Not because I did anything wrong, but because that's how responsible daughters are trained. We're conditioned to feel guilty the moment we stop giving. My mother's voice echoed in my head, "You'll fix it. You make things harder than they need to be. Just go get groceries." I opened my eyes and stared ahead. Their expectations had become my prison, and deep down, I knew if I didn't break this cycle now, I never would. I checked my phone, 6 texts, all from Simone. "Simone, where are you? Mom said you left without saying anything. Hurry up, PLS, the kids are hungry. And can you get the cereal with the marshmallows too? And almond milk, the blue carton. Actually get the chocolate one too." Not one text asking if I was okay. Not one mention of the power bill, not 1 ounce of awareness, just demands. My chest tightened, but not with stress, with decision. I wasn't going back until I was ready. I drove again, this time with direction. Straight to the one place where thinking always made sense, my office. I had the keycard, of course. No one was there at this hour. The building was quiet, dim, peaceful, the opposite of my parents' house. I walked up to the 18th floor, into the glass corner office I earned through years of grind. The city skyline glowed outside, neon and alive, and for the first time all day, I felt grounded. I sat down at my desk, not to work, to plan, because if there was one thing I knew how to do better than anyone, it was build strategy. I pulled out a notepad and wrote at the top, "Plan to take my life back." The words alone made my spine straighten. I divided the page into sections. 1. Finances first thing, stop sending money blindly. I wasn't going to fund irresponsibility anymore. 2nd, check all accounts associated with my name. Because that flicker of guilt from my father, that glance towards Simone, it haunted me. What if they had done something worse with my money? I logged into my banking portal, bills paid. Salary deposits normal, savings untouched. Then I checked linked activity, something I rarely did, and my blood went cold. A a second checking account connected to my profile, one I didn't open, one with my information. Recent withdrawals, multiple small amounts, some larger ones. My throat tightened. Someone used my identity. Someone linked it with my banking profile. Someone had access to my financial information. There were only 3 people in that house who could have done that: my father, my mother, Simone, but there was only one person who would have used it without asking: Simone. I leaned back, heart pounding. It wasn't just the power bill. It wasn't just groceries or bills or expectations. This was deeper, darker, more calculated. They didn't just rely on me. They were using me. And for a moment, I couldn't breathe because I wasn't prepared for what came next. I clicked deeper into the account. That's when I saw it, a recent payment to a luxury apartment complex. The same complex Simone was evicted from, paid last week. My hands trembled. They had used my money to try to get their old place back. Behind my back, using my identity. I covered my mouth as the truth sank in. My kindness wasn't being abused, my identity was. This wasn't emotional manipulation. This was financial betrayal, a type of betrayal that, in the US, ruins trust forever and sometimes ruins families. I sat in silence for a long minute, absorbing the shock. Then, surprisingly, I didn't cry. I didn't fall apart. I didn't panic. I felt calm, ice-cold calm, the kind that comes right before a storm, and I realized they thought I would never find out. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Oh, I'm done." Not loud, not angry, just cert. I closed the bank tabs, stood up, and looked at my reflection in the office window. For the first time, I didn't see a tired woman. I saw someone dangerous, someone capable, strategic, focused, awake. Someone ready to reclaim everything that had been taken from her. Someone ready to stop being used. And at that moment, I knew I wasn't going back home empty-handed. I was going back with a plan. I left the office more awake than I had felt in months. Not angry, not emotional, just clear. Clarity is power. Clarity is leverage. Clarity is the one thing manipulators never want you to have. I walked back to my car, unlocked it, and sat in silence for a moment. The evening breeze drifted through the slightly open window, carrying the faint smell of jasmine and city dust. Atlanta nights always had that combination, something sweet tangled with something worn. It reminded me of my life, beautiful but used, light but burdened, warm but drained. I started the engine, and instead of heading toward my parents' house, I drove to the only place where I knew my truth would make sense: my best friend Maya's condo. Maya didn't judge, Maya didn't take, Maya didn't drain. Maya restored. She lived in Midtown, modern, clean, minimalist daycare, lots of plants, and the kind of calm that could make you unclench your jaw just by walking through her front door. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't smile. She just sighed softly and said, "Okay, come inside." I stepped in, kicked off my heels, and sank into her velvet couch like every bone in my body had been waiting to exhale. She didn't bombard me with questions. She didn't overreact. She didn't pry. She walked to the kitchen, grabbed 2 glasses, poured wine, handed me one, then sat down next to me. "Talk," she said. 2 letters, 1 syllable, the safest invitation I'd had all day. I told her everything: the power bill, the house mess, Simone's entitlement, Chad's freeloading, my mother's dismissal, my father's guilt, the bank account, the luxury apartment payment. Her expression shifted from concern, disbelief, anger, flat, unimpressed disappointment. "Girl," she exhaled, "this is not your family depending on you. This is your family exploiting you." I knew that. I just didn't want to admit it. "They're not thinking, Kesha has a good job, let's help each other," she continued. "No. They're thinking, Kesha will fix it, so why try?" I stared at the floor. She wasn't wrong. She rested her hand on my arm. "Baby, you've been carrying grown adults on your back for years. You've got Simone's whole family living in your parents' house like it's a resort. Meanwhile, you're working overtime, making VP moves, and nobody can even keep the lights on for 1 week." My throat tightened. Her voice softened. "You're drowning, and they're clinging to you like you're the lifeboat." We sat in silence for a moment, one of those heavy, quiet moments when truth enters the room and just sits there with you. But truth always unlocks something, and what it unlocked in me was anger, not rage, not tantrum anger, a colder kind, sharper, more precise, the anger of a woman who finally sees the pattern clearly. I pulled out my phone to show Maya the bank account screen. She grabbed the phone, stared at it for a long second, then said, "No, no, absolutely not." Then louder, "No." Then she stood up in full dramatic Maya fashion. "Oh, hell no. Kesha, this is identity theft, this is fraud, this is actual crime. They're not just using you, they're stealing from you." I took a slow breath. "Yeah." She planted her hands on her hips like a furious black mom catching someone sneaking out after curfew. What is your plan? There it was, the question that mattered. I'm not going back there to be their maid, I said quietly. I'm going back there to take back control. She nodded approvingly. What's step one? Confrontation, I said. But not yelling, not chaos, not emotional. Good, she said. Control the room, don't let them guilt you. I won't. What's step two? Cut off access, I said. I'm shutting down the linked account. And I'm freezing anything tied to my name. Maya's eyes softened. She knew how big that step was for someone like me. What's step three? She asked. And that one I hadn't said out loud yet. I swallowed hard. Boundaries, I whispered. Real ones I enforce, ones they can't guilt me out of. Maya exhaled slowly. That's the one they're going to hate. I know. You ready for that? I looked up at her. I'm tired of being the family sacrifice. Her lips curved into a small, proud smile. Then go get your life back. I hugged her, a slow, grounding hug, then stood, grabbed my bag, and headed toward the door. As I stepped out, Maya called after me, and Kesha? Yeah, don't let them twist this into you being the villain. They trained you to feel responsible for everybody. Break that training. I nodded once. I will. When I got back in my car, nighttime had fully taken over the city. Streetlights glowed orange, headlights streaked by, and the whole world felt like it was humming under its breath. I put both hands on the steering wheel, took a breath, and whispered, let's finish this. I started the car and headed toward my parents' house. The closer I got, the steadier I felt. The house appeared at the end of the street, still chaotic, still dimly lit, still the same place where I had lost pieces of myself for years. But this time, I wasn't walking in as the fixer, or the provider, or the cushion, or the shield. I was walking in as a woman who finally understood her worth. And a woman who understands her worth is the most dangerous kind. I parked. Cut the engine, stepped out. I could hear noise from inside, kids yelling, Simone laughing too loud, TV blaring, something falling over, somebody calling, Mom. Every few seconds, chaos, predictable chaos. I walked up the steps slowly, intentionally, each step heavy with decision. Then I opened the door. As soon as I stepped inside, every head turned toward me. Simone looked annoyed, Chad looked surprised, my mother looked ready to scold. My father looked guilty again, but no one said anything, because something in my face, my posture, or my energy told them, this is not the same Kesha who walked out earlier. This is someone else entirely. And they were about to learn exactly what that meant. The silence that filled the living room wasn't peaceful, it was tense, thick, expectant. The air felt heavier, like everyone sensed something was about to happen, but no one knew what. I closed the door behind me and set my bag down with a soft, controlled thud. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't announce anything, I didn't rush. I simply walked to the center of the room and stood there, still, grounded, present. Simone was the first to break. There you are, she said, arms crossed. You didn't even tell us where you were going. We've been waiting forever. Waiting, as if I existed purely to serve them. I didn't look at her, not yet. My mother chimed in next, irritated. Why didn't you answer your phone? And where are the groceries? The kids are hungry, and Simone's had a long day. You know, she gets overwhelmed. Simone nodded like the world's most exhausted martyr. I really do. I still didn't look at her. My father tried to soften the room. Kesha, baby, maybe you could have called. And Chad, God bless his delusion, added, yeah, we count on you. Count on, depend on, lean on, drain from. Every phrase meant the same thing, you owe us. I finally spoke, my voice calm but strong. I want everyone to sit, my mother blinked. What? Sit, I repeated. Now. There is a tone adults use when they've made a decision, a tone so firm, so certain that even grown people obey without thinking. That was the tone I used. My mother sat slowly, my father followed. Simone plopped into a chair with attitude. Chad lingered, confused, until Simone snapped at him to sit too. The kids were in the hallway, watching. I gently said, go upstairs for a bit, okay? Auntie needs to talk to the grown-ups. They ran upstairs, sensing the adult tension instantly. I waited until every footstep faded, then I spoke. Something happened today that made me see everything clearly. Simone rolled her eyes. Oh God, here we go. I looked at her, just one look. She froze. I had never looked at her like she was a full-grown adult capable of consequences. Only as a sister who needed help, but now I looked at her like a woman who needed accountability, and she wasn't ready for that. I turned back to all of them. I want to talk about money, I said. My mother sighed dramatically. Kesha, please don't start. I'm not starting, I said gently. I'm explaining. My father leaned forward. Baby, let's not make this a big. It is big, I cut in, calm but firm. And it's going to be handled now. The room fell silent again. Deep, uneasy silence. Good. They needed to feel uncomfortable. Comfort had kept them entitled. I continued. When I left earlier, I checked my financial accounts. My father stiffened. Simone swallowed hard. Chad blinked like he didn't understand what that meant. And I found a second checking account connected to my profile, I said. When I didn't open, no one spoke. My mother looked confused. My father looked scared. Simone's eyes darted toward the hallway. Chad looked at Simone. Simone looked anywhere but at me. I kept going. That account shows recent withdrawals, and last week there was a payment to a luxury apartment, the same one Simone got evicted from. Simone's face went pale. My mother gasped. What? That can't be right. I raised a hand. Don't defend yet, just listen. Chad's eyebrows shot up at Simone. You said your aunt paid for... Simone elbowed him sharply. He shut up. I want one of you, I said quietly, to explain to me how my identity was used to pay for Simone's past due apartment fees. No one moved. No one breathed. Simone opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It wasn't like that. How was it, Simone? I asked, voice still calm. I didn't steal anything, she said quickly. The system was already logged in from before or something. Maybe you forgot you helped me that time. You mean the time 4 years ago, I said, when I voluntarily sent money for your deposit. The deposit you wasted? Silence. Simone's jaw trembled. I didn't know it would auto-connect again, she mumbled. Her voice was small now, weak, caught. So it did auto-connect, I said, because you connected it once. With my login, she looked down, micro crack in the facade. Good, my mother jumped in, protective and misguided. Kesha, she's your sister. She was stressed. She's got children she didn't mean. I turned to her. Mom. Identity theft is not a stress mistake. It's a felony. Her mouth snapped shut. My father looked devastated. Simone started breathing faster. She wasn't used to responsibility attaching itself to her actions. Chad leaned forward, confused. Wait, identity theft is like real, like jail? Simone slapped his arm. Shut up. I took a slow breath. You all crossed a line, and I'm not here to yell. I'm here to set boundaries you will not cross again. Simone's eyes flicked up at me. What boundaries? First, I said, I've already shut down the linked account. It's frozen completely. My father buried his face in his hands. Simone's eyes widened with panic. Wait, you froze it? I mean, we were using that. I repeated softly. You said it was accidental. Her mouth froze mid-word. I continued. Second, I'm cutting off all extra financial support. My mother gasped. Kesha, you can't do that. The kids, I said, have parents, 2 of them. You and Dad also live here, 3 adults. 4, actually, since Chad is perfectly capable of working. Chad blinked. Wait, I am? Yes, I said, and you will. He looked like someone had told him dinosaurs were fake. Simone's panic grew. You can't just stop helping. We're family? No, I said softly. I can stop being exploited. Simone opened her mouth again, but this time her voice wasn't angry, it was desperate. We needed that money, Kesha. You don't understand? I do understand, I said. I understand perfectly. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, voice low and steady. You wanted your old life without earning it. You wanted me to pay for it. You wanted Mom and Dad to shield you from responsibility, and you assumed I'd always be there to clean it up. Simone's eyes filled with tears. She wasn't crying from guilt. She was crying because the gravy train was slowing down. I spoke again, gentler but firm. I love you. I love your kids, but love without boundaries becomes abuse. Today is the day that stops. The room was dead silent. My mother wiped her face. My father sighed deeply. Simone breathed in sharp, shaky breaths. Chad stared at the floor. I stood. This ends tonight. And then, just as the room settled in that heavy truth, someone said something that changed everything. It was my father. Of all people, of all moments, it was him who broke the silence. He lifted his head, eyes glassy, voice low and fragile in a way I had never heard from him before. Kesha, don't do this. My stomach dropped. Not because of the words, but because of the way he said them. Not angry, not defensive, afraid, truly afraid. I straightened slowly. What do you mean, don't do this? He looked around the room like a man cornered with no exit. Your mother tensed, Simone froze, Chad stopped breathing, something shifted in the air. My father cleared his throat, swallowed hard, and said, There's something you don't understand. The hairs on my arm stood up. My mother said sharply, Frank, don't what? I said quietly. My father rubbed his face with shaking hands. Kesha, if you shut down the account, we're going to lose the house. My mind went blank. What? My heart stopped. What do you mean lose the house? My father looked down at the table, then at the floor, then past me like eye contact would break him apart. My mother whispered, Frank, stop. No, he said firmly. She deserves to know. Simone looked terrified. Chad looked confused again. I stepped closer, voice steady, controlled. Dad, what house? This house, he nodded once, a small, broken nod. I felt the room tilt. This house is paid off, I said, trying to process the math in my head. You paid the mortgage years ago. Another silence. My father's next sentence punched the air out of my lungs. Kesha, we took out a second mortgage. My knees nearly buckled. A second mortgage on a paid-off house without telling me. I blinked, trying to keep my vision from blurring. When, I whispered, 3 years ago, he said softly. My heart twisted. 3 years ago was when Simone got evicted the first time. And for what? My father hesitated, then he said it. To help Simone's family? I covered my mouth. No breath, no air, just disbelief. They risked their home, their stability, their future to rescue Simone's bad decisions. And it made sense now, like puzzle pieces snapping together. Why my father always looked guilty. Why he'd been avoiding eye contact. Why they tolerated Simone and Chad destroying the house. Why they never asked why I was paying for everything. They needed me to. They were drowning. Not just emotionally, financially. I whispered, how much do you owe? My father wiped his eyes. 85,000. My blood ran cold. Simone gasped softly. Dad, my mother finally broke down. Kesha, we didn't want to bother you with it. You were busy, you were doing so well, and Simone needed help, and I snapped my head toward her. Needed help is one thing, but $85,000. Without telling me, my father couldn't look up. We thought we'd manage it, he whispered. But then Chad lost his job, and Simone's influencer deals dried up, and the payments got harder and harder, and so you connected my accounts, I said hollowly. He closed his eyes and used my identity. Simone whispered, it wasn't supposed to be like this. I stared at them, my entire family, and I didn't feel anger. I felt betrayal. Deep, generational, cutting betrayal. The kind you don't come back from unchanged. I took a slow breath. Dad, I said quietly, when is the next payment due? He swallowed hard. Tomorrow. My chest cracked open. They hid an $85,000 debt for 3 years. Used my identity behind my back. Let Simone live like a burden. Let me carry everything. Let themselves drown. And expected me to keep them afloat while pretending everything was fine. Everything in my head went silent, except one truth they had never expected me to find out. My voice was steady, low, terrifyingly calm. Why didn't anyone tell me? My mother cried harder. Kesha, we knew you would try to fix it. That's exactly why you should have told me, because I deserved to know the truth. My father broke. He sobbed, a sound I had never heard from him. We didn't want you to hate us, he whispered. That was the moment my heart shattered, because they hadn't protected me. They had protected themselves by letting me walk blind, by letting me carry them unknowingly, by letting me be the family mule. And now the truth stood naked between us. My love had been weaponized. For years, my voice cracked. Dad, how far behind are you? He wiped his face again, ashamed. A few months. How many months? His silence answered. More than a few, maybe 6, maybe more. Simone suddenly spoke, her voice trembling with fear. Kesha, please don't leave. If you stop helping, we won't survive. And there it was, not love, not remorse, fear of losing their provider. A chill went through me. I straightened slowly. My decision was forming like ice in my spine. You won't lose the house, I said. Everyone let out a shaky breath of relief, but then I added, but you're going to earn your way out of this. All their faces dropped. Simone stared at me. What does that mean? It means, I said calmly, that this house, this debt, this mess, all of it is your responsibility. I will help stabilize, but I will not carry it. Not anymore. I will not be used. I will not be lied to. And I will not let you drag me down into your chaos. My mother whispered, Kesha, please. No, I said, stronger this time. This family is going to change, starting right now. Everyone looked terrified. Good. Because this wasn't rage. This was awakening. This was liberation. This was a woman finally choosing herself, and what I said next would change the entire course of our family forever. I took a slow breath, feeling the entire room tighten around me. My voice came out steady, too steady, the calm before a storm nobody saw coming. I'm moving out. It hit the room like a gunshot. My mother gasped. My father froze. Simone's hand flew to her chest. Chad's mouth dropped open like he'd forgotten how to breathe. No, my mother whispered. Kesha, baby, please don't say that. I'm saying it because it's happening. My mother shook her head over and over like she could undo my sentence by denying reality. You can't leave us, she said. Her voice trembled. You're the one holding everything together. And that was the problem, exactly the problem. Mom, I said, that's not normal. She blinked hard. What do you mean? You don't build a family around one person's labor. You don't build survival around one person's income. You don't build happiness around one person's exhaustion. My father's face crumpled. Kesha, if you move out, how will we handle everything? You'll have to learn, I said. That's what adults do. Simone stood up suddenly, panic surging through her whole body. You can't do this. You know we need you. Without your help, Then you'll have to stand up and be a mother, I said quietly. Not an influencer, not a victim, a mother. Her lip quivered. You're abandoning us. No, I said, I'm letting you carry your own weight. Simone shook her head rapidly, tears spilling. You're selfish. Everything you do is about control. You want us to depend on you so you can judge us? I didn't even flinch. Simone, I said, if I wanted control, I would have told the bank to prosecute you. That shut her up so fast she stopped breathing. Her eyes widened, fear, guilt, disbelief, all fighting to take over her expression. My mother gasped. Kesha, don't even joke about that. I'm not joking, I said calmly. I'm stating a fact. You all put my name, my credit, and my future at risk. I'm choosing grace, not revenge. Grace, remember that. The silence was suffocating, not angry silence, stunned silence. The kind that follows a truth bomb no one wants to acknowledge. My father stood slowly, eyes swollen. Kesha, he whispered, we didn't want to lose you. You almost did, I said softly. Not because I'm leaving, but because of the lies. My father covered his face with both hands and quietly cried. The sight broke me in a way I didn't expect, because despite everything, he was still my father. Still the man who carried me on his shoulders. Still the man who worked nights so we could stay in school. Still the man who bought me my first computer so I could chase my dreams. He wasn't evil, he was desperate. And desperation makes people stupid, but Simone wasn't desperate. Simone was entitled, and entitlement is a disease. I inhaled deeply, fighting the heaviness in my chest. I will not abandon you, I said. But I will not live in this house anymore. I will help create a plan. I will help stabilize things. I will not carry everything on my back. Simone let out a shaky breath. You're serious? Dead serious? Chad, who had been quiet too long, suddenly blurted. So does this mean I have to get a job? Simone slapped his arm so hard it echoed. I didn't even look at him when I said. Yes, his whole face fell. My mother whispered, Kesha, baby, where will you go? My condo, I said. I've been paying for it for years. It's mine, it's empty, and I'm moving back in. But we need you here. You need me healthy, I corrected. And this house is killing me. My father wiped his face. Kesha, what do we do now? I walked to the dining table, took a pen, took a sheet of paper. Then, like the VP I was, like the leader I had always been, like the only adult in the room, I started writing. A structured plan, steps, deadlines, boundaries. Plan for this house starting tonight, I wrote. Chad must get a job within 30 days. Any job. If he refuses, he leaves this house. Simone must apply for real employment, not influencer gigs. Part-time, full-time, assistant work, retail, anything consistent. Parents must disclose all financial documents. Mortgages, overdue payments, accounts, everything. I will help restructure the debt only if everyone commits to contribution. No one uses my accounts, my name, my credit, or my income unless I say so in writing. If anyone violates any part of this plan, I pull all support, immediately. Every face in the room shifted into a different shade of dread. Good. Fear wasn't my goal, but accountability was. I placed the paper gently on the coffee table. This isn't a negotiation, I said. This is how we move forward. Simone stared at the paper like it was a death sentence. Chad scratched his head. What if I don't find a job I like? Then you'll take a job you don't like, I said. Welcome to adulthood, my mother wiped her tears. Kesha, I don't know if we can do all this. You can, I said, and you will, my father whispered, and if we do, will you still help us? Yes, I said, because I love you, but I will not lose myself to save you. I walked toward the hallway, picked up my bag, sling it over my shoulder. Simone's voice cracked from behind me. So you're really leaving tonight? I turned. Yes, her expression shattered. Can we still talk? She asked, voice trembling. Not about money, just as sisters. For the first time that night, my voice softened. Yes, I said, but as adults. Not dependents? She nodded slowly, the first real nod she'd given me in years. I walked to the door. My father said quietly, Kesha, thank you. And I knew he meant it. I opened the door, stepped out into the quiet, humid night and inhaled deeply. I was exhausted, drained, emotionally raw, but for the first time in years, I felt free, really free. The street was still, peaceful, almost too peaceful after everything. I walked to my car, unlocked it, and placed my bag inside. Just as I closed the door, my phone buzzed. A text, unknown number. I frowned and opened it. And the message made my heart stop. We need to talk. I know what Simone did. a neighbor, and just like that, I realized this story wasn't over, it was just beginning. My hand tightened around the phone. A neighbor who, why now? My pulse pounded in my ears. The night air suddenly felt sharper, colder, heavier, as if the quiet street knew something I didn't. I stared at the message again. We need to talk, I know what Simone did. A neighbor, a slow chill crept up my spine. What did Simone do? What else did Simone do? Because if a neighbor was reaching out, if someone outside the family knew something I didn't, then Simone's entitlement wasn't just messy. It was dangerous. I typed back, who is this? 3 dots appeared, stopped, appeared again, stopped again. Then finally a reply, I live 2 houses down from your parents. It's about the delivery man. Please don't ignore this. Delivery man. My throat tightened. Another message came instantly. We saw something that involved your account. My stomach dropped. My bank account. Simone, the neighbor, the delivery man. My brain raced through every possibility: scams, packages, identity theft, a stolen credit card, forged signatures, but nothing prepared me for the next text. Simone has been using your name for months, not just money. Packages, credit applications, deliveries, and she signed for something expensive last week. My breath caught. Expensive. Signed. Under my name. I froze. A luxury purchase, electronics, furniture, appliances, something that required ID. Then another text popped up, almost frantic now. Kesha, she used your ID when the delivery man asked for verification. My chest tightened painfully. Verification means a driver's license, a government ID. Something with my name on it. How did she get that? My hands shook as I typed. What did she sign for? This time, the reply came instantly. A financing contract. They delivered a whole living room set. Under your credit, my knees nearly buckled. A financing contract, in my name, delivered to my parents' house. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't accidental access. That wasn't stress. That wasn't desperation. That was premeditated. Calculated, intentional, fraud. I leaned against the car, breathing hard, the night spinning around me. A whole furniture set, financed, under my credit. Simone knew exactly what she was doing. The neighbor texted again. We didn't want to get involved, but when we heard you arguing tonight, we realized you don't know. I whispered, I didn't. Another text, we have video. He asked for ID. She handed him something with your picture. My blood turned to ice. I asked, how did she even get my ID? This time, no dots, no hesitation, just one message. We think she took it from your mother's drawer. My heart cracked. My mother's drawer, the one where she kept passports, old documents, cards, sometimes important papers. Meaning, Simone went through her drawers, found my ID, took it, used it, put it back, or kept it, who knew? Simone had been living in that house for months. She had access to everything. I typed, why didn't you tell me earlier? The reply was honest. We didn't want drama, but tonight, your father's voice, your mother crying, we realized Simone is going to ruin you if someone doesn't stop her. I exhaled shakily. Stopped her? How? Simone didn't feel guilt. She felt entitlement. She didn't apologize. She expected forgiveness. She didn't worry about consequences. She assumed I'd fix everything. I typed, can I see the video? The neighbor replied, yes. Sending now. A notification popped up. Video received. I tapped play. The footage was shaky, probably taken from a security camera or door cam, but clear enough. A delivery truck backed into the driveway. A man unloaded huge boxes, sofa, chairs, ottoman, side tables. Simone opened the door, smiling like she had paid for luxury with money made honestly. The delivery man asked for ID. Simone hesitated just a second, then reached into her back pocket and pulled out my ID. She held it confidently, like it belonged to her, like she'd used it before, like this was routine. The man glanced at it, nodded. Had her sign the contract, my name pre-printed on the form. Simone signed with a flourish, my signature, or the version she thought resembled mine. I paused the video. My heart was pounding so loudly it filled my ears. This wasn't borrowing. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't desperation. This was identity theft. This was fraud. This was betrayal beyond anything I imagined. My phone buzzed again. Neighbor, please don't tell her it came from us. We're afraid of retaliation. But you need to protect yourself. Retaliation? From Simone, my stomach twisted. If the neighbors were afraid of her, what had she done? What was she capable of? I typed, thank you, I'm handling it. They replied, be careful. She's not who you think she is. A slow, cold dread crept up my spine. Not who I think she is. No, she was exactly who I thought she was. I just didn't want to believe it. I looked back at the house, the place where I grew up, the place where love had lived, the place where betrayal now breathed heavier than the Georgia humidity. I whispered to myself, this changes everything. And it did. Because tonight wasn't just the night I set boundaries. Tonight was the night I realized my sister wasn't just irresponsible, she was dangerous. I got into my car, closed the door slowly, started the engine. And as I drove off into the dark Atlanta night, one truth echoed louder than anything. I wasn't walking away to save myself anymore. I was walking away to protect myself. I drove through the night in complete silence. No music, no podcast, no calls, just the hum of the road and the heavy weight of truth sitting on my chest like a cinder block. The city lights blurred past in streaks of gold and white, but I barely saw any of it. My mind was replaying the neighbor's video over and over again, Simone smiling casually as she handed the delivery man my ID, signing my name, financing a living room set I didn't buy. The audacity, the entitlement, the complete lack of fear, it was shocking. But it wasn't surprising, not really. Not when I finally admitted to myself that Simone had always assumed she could use me without consequences. She just graduated from emotional manipulation to financial crime, and if she did it once, she could have done more. The thought made my stomach twist because deep down, I knew this wasn't the only secret waiting to surface. When I reached my condo parking garage, I sat in the car for a long moment before moving. My hands were still trembling, my breath uneven. The exhaustion settled in, not the physical kind, but the soul-deep kind that comes from seeing your entire life differently in a single night. I finally stepped out, locked my car, and headed toward the elevator. The quiet hum of the hallway lights felt like the only peaceful sound in the world. When I opened the door to my condo, a wave of something unexpected washed over me. Relief, real relief. The place smelled clean, untouched. No toys, no yelling, no clutter, no tension vibrating in the walls, just quiet, soft, gentle quiet. I placed my bag on the kitchen island and let myself breathe for the first time that day. But the peace didn't last long because 5 minutes later, my phone lit up with an incoming call. Mom, of course, I stared at the screen, letting it ring. Once, twice, 3 times, then I declined it. A minute later, she called again. Declined, then a third time, declined. My mother never stopped calling when she felt guilty. She would try to apologize, try to smooth things over, try to make me feel like I had overreacted. I wasn't ready for that call. Not tonight. I set my phone face down. A few seconds later, a text arrived. Mom, Kesha, please call me. Your father is not okay. My shoulders tensed. Of course he wasn't. Because for the first time in years, I had shown him a truth he couldn't bury with routine and denial. But I wasn't emotionally strong enough to step back into their chaos. Not yet. I turned the phone back over. But before I could even set it down again, another message appeared. Simone, Kesha, we need to talk now. I stared at that one for a long moment. Not I'm sorry, not I messed up, not thank you for helping us, not let me explain, just another demand. I didn't respond, then another text. Simone, look, I know you're mad, but you don't understand everything. I almost laughed. I understood plenty. I waited until my breath calmed enough to steady my fingers. Then I typed, we will talk tomorrow, not tonight. Simone read it instantly. 3 dots appeared like she was about to argue, then stopped, then appeared again, then stopped again, then finally, fine, short, sharp, passive-aggressive. That was her apology. I turned the phone face down again, walked to my bedroom, and collapsed onto the bed. I didn't even change clothes. I just laid there staring at the ceiling. Minutes passed, then an hour, then 2, but sleep didn't come. My mind kept circling the same questions. How long had Simone been using my ID? What else had she signed? What else had she bought? What accounts had she touched? What credit cards had she applied for? What debts were in my name? The possibilities made my chest tighten. I reached for my laptop. If I wanted answers, I had to search. I logged into my credit monitoring account, something I rarely checked because, well, I always assumed everything was fine. But tonight, I needed to see the truth. The moment the dashboard loaded, my breath caught. There were inquiries on my credit report, multiple inquiries, 6 in the last 3 months. My pulse spiked. Furniture, electronics, a credit card application, a retail account, a financing company I didn't recognize. My throat tightened. I clicked each one and read the timestamps. Every inquiry happened when Simone was living in the house, every single one. And then my stomach dropped when I saw the most recent inquiry because it wasn't for furniture. It was for a vehicle, a car dealership last week. A car. I whispered, no. Simone would never buy a car in her name. She never kept a job long enough to qualify. But she would sign for a car in mine. My entire body went numb. I clicked the dealership's name, then copied it, pasted it into my email, and typed to their customer support, I need information regarding a fraudulent credit application submitted under my name. My heart hammered violently as I hit send. I sat back in the chair, trembling. Simone stealing my name for a sofa was one thing, but a car? That wasn't desperation. That wasn't entitlement. That wasn't even recklessness. That was escalation. That was criminal. I sat frozen in the chair for a long moment, feeling a rising sense of dread. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I whispered the question that terrified me. What if Simone isn't done? As if the universe was listening, my phone buzzed. A new message from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it. Unknown. You need to check your mailbox before someone else does. I stared at it. Mailbox? Which mailbox? My condo mailbox, my parents' mailbox. Before I could respond, another text came. Hurry, it's urgent. My breath hitched then. It's about Simone. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thin, the night too quiet. I stood slowly, grabbed my keys, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. Because whoever texted me knew something urgent, something I wasn't supposed to see, something that could change everything again. And I had a sinking feeling that whatever waited in that mailbox was worse than everything I'd already discovered. I hurried through the hallway of my condo building, my footsteps echoing too loudly against the polished floors. It was late, almost midnight, but my heart was pounding like it was the middle of a crisis, because it was. Something was in that mailbox, something someone didn't want me to miss, something connected to Simone. Simone, who had already stolen my ID, Simone, who had already opened accounts in my name, Simone, who might have applied for a car under my credit. My pulse quickened as I approached the row of mailboxes. The quiet of the hallway made every movement feel heavier, more dramatic. I unlocked my box, opened it. At first glance, it was empty, just a few coupons and a grocery flyer. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. Nothing connected to Simone, but then, behind the junk mail, tucked flat against the metal back wall, I saw a thick white envelope. Unmarked, completely plain, no stamp, no return address, hand-delivered. My heartbeat slowed to a strange, uneasy rhythm. This wasn't normal. No one should be placing envelopes in here manually. I pulled it out carefully. It felt heavy, too heavy for paper. Inside, something solid. I didn't open it there. My instinct screamed privacy. I hurried back to my condo, locked the door, drew the blinds, turned on the kitchen light, and finally, with shaking fingers, opened the envelope. A stack of documents slid out, thick ones, legal ones, and a small flash drive. A chill rippled through me. I picked up the papers first. The top page made my jaw drop. Vehicle purchase agreement application name, Kesha A. Thompson, my name, again. But I didn't buy a car. I flipped to the next page. A photo of the vehicle, a black SUV, new, expensive. Then my eyes caught the signature line. There it was, a shaky version of my name, not my handwriting, but close enough that someone unfamiliar might accept it. My chest tightened painfully. Simone signed for a whole SUV, under my credit, under my name, but the next page was worse. It showed down payment. $0 financed amount, $49,800 APR, 16.3% monthly payment, $739.92. I pressed a hand to my forehead. $49,000 at almost 17% interest, without income, without my knowledge, without my identity actually present. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't accidental. This was a full-blown felony. I dropped into a kitchen chair, breath shaky and shallow. Simone was spiraling, spending money she didn't have, using identities she didn't own, living fantasies she couldn't afford. This wasn't just entitlement, this was mania. This was delusion, this was escalation, and the worst part, this wasn't even the end of the envelope. I picked it up again and felt something else inside, a folded letter. I pulled it out. It was handwritten, neat handwriting, careful. I unfolded it. The first line made my skin crawl. Kesha, I'm writing this because you are in danger financially and legally. My stomach twisted. The letter continued, Simone has been using your identity for months. Not just for purchases, not just for the furniture, not just for the SUV, but for things you don't know about yet. I gripped the page tighter. Then the next lines made my blood run cold. She's not doing this alone. I blinked. What? Simone wasn't doing this alone. Then who? The answer came in the next sentence. Chad is helping her. I froze. Chad, lazy, clueless Chad, the man who couldn't even keep a job at UPS. The letter continued, he has a friend who works at a dealership, a shady one. They've been running a credit scheme. My mouth went dry. Credit scheme? I read on faster now. Chad's friend finds people with bad credit who want cars. Simone uses your identity to qualify for the loans. Chad takes a cut. Simone gets a cut, the buyers get the cars, and you get the debt. My heart slammed into my ribs, hard, painful, violent, a credit fraud ring, using my name, using my credit, using my identity. A whole criminal operation inside my parents' house while I was out working 12-hour days to support them. I felt dizzy, physically dizzy. The letter went on. Simone said you'd never check your credit, that you have money anyway, that you just pay whatever popped up. Chad said you were too busy to notice. My vision blurred for a second. They were counting on my kindness, my responsibility, my love. They weaponized it. The next line made bile rise in my throat. They also used your ID for a credit card application. You haven't seen the bill yet. It should arrive any day now. Any day now, meaning tomorrow or next week. Or maybe it already came. Maybe the something expensive wasn't just the furniture. I swallowed hard and read on. I overheard Chad bragging outside one night. He told someone you're an easy target. That you're smart but stupid about family. His words. My hands started shaking. Smart but stupid about family. I couldn't breathe. The letter continued. I didn't know how to tell you. But after hearing the argument tonight, I knew I couldn't stay silent. Then the last lines. Check the flash drive. You need to see it. I'm sorry. The signature wasn't a name, just a concerned neighbor. I stared at the flash drive on the table. Tiny, harmless looking, but potentially devastating. My hand hovered over it. I didn't want to plug it in. I didn't want to see what was on it. I didn't want the truth to get any darker, but I had no choice. I inserted it into my laptop. A single folder appeared, titled Simone plus Chad Video Proof. My stomach clenched. I opened the folder. There were 6 videos. All time-stamped, all recent. All recorded from various angles, probably security cameras or door cams. I clicked the first. Simone in the driveway talking to a man in a dealership shirt. Chad handing him a folder, Simone laughing. I clicked the second, Simone pulling my ID from a purse. Chad nodding approvingly. I clicked the third, Chad meeting someone at night behind the house, handing them car keys. I clicked the fourth. Simone counting money with Chad while their kids slept on the couch. My heart sank deeper and deeper. I clicked the fifth, Chad bragging loudly into a phone. She's a VP, man, she won't notice. She's too busy saving the world. And she always pays her bills on time. That's why her credit is perfect. My veins ran ice cold. Then the 6th video. The instant it started playing, my hand flew to my mouth. Simone was in my parents' bedroom. Going through my mother's drawer, she pulled something out, held it up, my driver's license. Then, the worst part, she said, laughing, Kesha won't even know, she never checks anything. And even if she does, she loves me too much to do anything about it. My breath shattered. Tears filled my eyes, not from sadness. From betrayal so deep it scraped bone. I closed the laptop with shaking hands. My entire body felt cold, empty, hollow, and as I sat there, frozen in the quiet of my condo, one realization hit me with absolute clarity. This wasn't a family problem anymore. This was a crime. And I had to decide if I was finally ready to stop protecting the people who were destroying me. I sat in the dark for what felt like hours, even though only a few minutes had passed. My condo was silent, painfully silent, but inside my head, everything was loud. Simone's laughter in those videos, Chad's bragging, the dealership contract with my name, the SUV, the financing, the legal risks, the lies, the audacity. And worst of all, the moment she held my ID and said I loved her too much to do anything about it. That line carved into me like a blade, because it was true. At least it used to be. I had given Simone every chance. Every shortcut, every bailout, every grace, every forgiveness, and she mistook my love for weakness. She mistook my silence for stupidity. She mistook my support for permission. But tonight, my love collapsed under the weight of truth. I wiped my face, slow, trembling, and stood. I wasn't crying from sadness. I was crying because something inside me had snapped for good, not an emotional snap, a moral one. A line my own sister would never return from. I paced the room, whispering to myself, I can't let this go. I can't let this continue. I can't let her destroy my entire future. My heart pounded again as a new thought entered my mind for the first time. Should I call the police? The idea made my whole body freeze. I had never considered policing my own family. Never, no matter how irresponsible Simone was, no matter how lazy Chad was, no matter how frustrating things were. Calling the police on my own sister, it felt wrong, unthinkable, traitorous, but what they did to me wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't even family business. It was criminal, legally, financially, ethically. It was a crime. A literal crime, and I was the victim. My hands trembled harder. I reached for my phone, opened the contacts, scrolled. My thumb hovered over Detective Harris, a client's husband who had once helped me with a workplace threat. I didn't tap it, not yet, because my heart was still fighting with my head. Head, they committed fraud. Heart, they're still family. Head, this can ruin your credit for years. Heart, maybe they didn't realize how serious this was. Head, you could be legally responsible if you don't report it. Heart, but reporting it could tear this family apart. Head, they don't care about you. Heart, but I care about them. Head, they set you up. Heart, but maybe they were desperate. My chest tightened painfully. This was the exact emotional trap Simone always used against me, family guilt, and guilt had kept me silent for years, not anymore. I put my phone down and forced myself to breathe. Then I asked the question I had been avoiding. What would happen if I didn't report it? The answer hit me hard. Simone would do it again. Chad would continue the scheme. My credit would tank. Debt would pile up. More accounts would open without my knowledge. More loans, more financing, more crimes in my name. And eventually, the law wouldn't come for them. They'd come for me. Because the signature was mine. The ID was mine. The name on the paperwork was mine. Victims who don't report fraud often end up paying the price. Literally, emotionally, legally, my stomach twisted. I couldn't sacrifice my entire future to protect people who were destroying me. I couldn't, not anymore. Just as I felt myself steady with that decision, my phone buzzed again. I jumped. A text from Maya this time. Maya, you okay? I've got a feeling you're not sleeping. I stared at the message. My hands moved before my brain even caught up. Simone did something worse than I thought. 3 dots appeared, then, Maya, I'll be there in 15 minutes. I quickly typed no, don't come. It's late, but Maya had already read it. Her reply, I don't care, I'm coming. I closed my eyes. Of course she was. 15 minutes later, I heard quiet knocking. I opened the door. Maya saw my face, my red eyes, my trembling hands, the stack of documents on the table, and didn't say a word. She stepped in quietly, closing the door behind her with gentle hands like she was entering a room with a wounded animal. Then she wrapped her arms around me, a slow, steady hug. Tell me everything, she whispered. I pulled back, walked to the table, and pointed at the envelope. She sat, picked up the papers, and began reading. Her expression hardened with every flip of a page. What the hell, she whispered. Kesha, this is fraud. This is massive fraud. This is federal. I swallowed. I know. She grabbed the vehicle contract. She signed for a $49,000 SUV under your name. Yes, Maya slapped her hand over her mouth. Oh my God. Then she opened the letter, read it slowly, carefully. 10 seconds in, she stopped, looked at me, eyes wide. Kesha, they weren't just using you. They were using you as a criminal asset. I felt sick. She continued reading, then moved to the flash drive, clicked through the videos. Her face went through every stage of disbelief, horror, disgust, rage. By the final video, Simone pulling my ID from the drawer, Maya slammed the laptop shut. That's it, call the police, my voice cracked. Maya, no, Kesha, listen to me. Her tone was firm, commanding. She committed ID theft, fraud. Financial crime, risked your future, your credit, your life, and Chad helped run a criminal operation using your information. I know, I said weakly. Kesha, this isn't about family anymore. This is about survival. I stared at the floor. Maya took my chin gently, lifted my face to hers. I love you, she said, and I cannot sit here and watch you protect people who are actively destroying you. My chest caved in. Your parents need help, she continued, but Simone and Chad need consequences. My throat tightened. I don't want to send my sister to jail, I whispered. Maya softened for a second, then. Your sister wasn't worried about sending you to jail when she used your ID. Silence. Heads up, babe, she added, voice low. If you don't catch this now, the government will, and you'll be the one holding the bag. Tears filled my eyes again. I knew she was right. I just didn't want her to be. Maya squeezed my hand. We don't have to call the police tonight, but we do need to call a lawyer, someone who can protect you. First, I wiped my face. A lawyer, yes, that made sense. A lawyer couldn't judge me. A lawyer couldn't guilt me. A lawyer would see Simone and Chad for what they were, criminals, not family. Criminals, Maya stood. I'll stay the night, she said quietly. You're not being alone while you process this, I nodded. We sat on the couch together, the flash drive and papers between us like a bomb waiting to explode. Then she said something I didn't expect. Kesha, this isn't going to end at fraud. I looked up slowly. What do you mean? Her eyes were dark, serious. I think Simone is hiding something bigger, and I think that envelope, that neighbor, those videos are just the beginning. The room felt colder. Bigger, I whispered. She nodded. Kesha, nobody escalates to stealing an SUV under someone else's identity unless they're desperate or hiding something. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Simone's fraud wasn't the whole story. It was the symptom. Not the disease. What else could she be hiding? I asked, sitting up straighter. Maya didn't answer immediately. She folded her arms. Her eyes shifted, not away from me, but deeper, like she was thinking through something she didn't want to say yet. Finally, Kesha, people don't jump from being sloppy with money to full-blown identity theft overnight. That's not a normal progression. I swallowed. So what progression is it? Maya exhaled slowly. A desperate one, a guilty one. A cornered one. My skin prickled. What do you mean? She leaned forward. Think about the timing, she said. Your dad got injured. Your mom got overwhelmed. Simone moved in. Chad started skulking around. Bills started going missing. Mail started disappearing. Things started getting paid late. Your account started feeling off. And then, boom, this SUV appears in your name, not theirs. But why? I whispered. Maya lowered her voice. Because Simone needed something that wouldn't trace back to her. She needed a clean identity. I felt sick. Maya, that doesn't make sense. She shook her head. Oh, it makes a lot of sense if she owes somebody. Or she's already in trouble, or she's been flagged somewhere, or she's running from something. A cold wave rolled through me. No, Simone wouldn't, but even as I tried to defend her, the truth rose up in the back of my throat. Simone would. Simone could. Simone already did multiple unforgivable things. Maya saw the shift in my face and squeezed my knee gently. I'm not saying she's dangerous, Maya added. I'm saying she's hiding something dangerous. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs. Maya reached for the flash drive, flipping it between her fingers. I want you to notice something, she said. In the videos, Chad keeps saying the same phrase. I frowned. What phrase? Maya replayed one of the recordings and turned the speaker up. Chad's voice echoed, Bro, this one is clean. Nah, this one's clean too. We only use clean ones, man. Clean ones never get flagged. Maya hit pause. Why does he keep calling them clean? My stomach dropped. Because they're identities that don't trigger alerts, she nodded. And why would they need identities that don't trigger alerts? I stared at her. It hit me in one brutal flash because they weren't just using my name for convenience. They were using it because my name was safe, my credit was good. My accounts were stable, my profile wasn't suspicious. My ID didn't have any red flags. Simone's probably did. Chad's definitely did. And suddenly the puzzle snapped together. They couldn't use their own names. They couldn't use their own credit. They couldn't buy anything under their own identities because they were already in some kind of trouble. Oh my God, I whispered. Oh my God, Maya, they needed me because they couldn't use themselves. Maya nodded grimly. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. My pulse quickened as a terrifying question formed. If they can't use their own names, what kind of trouble are they in? Maya didn't answer. She didn't have to. I stood up, pacing the room. I need to talk to my mom, I said. I need to. Maya shook her head sharply. No, not yet. Not until you understand the whole picture. I froze. What whole picture? Maya, what are you talking? She reached into her purse, pulled something out, and slid it across the table. A folded piece of paper. Old, crumpled, stained like someone had been handling it for weeks. I frowned. What is this? Open it, she said quietly. I unfolded the paper slowly. When I saw the letterhead, my breath caught, my vision blurred. Maya, my voice cracked. Why does this say collection notice? Her face softened. Kesha, your parents are months behind. What? I gasped. No, I've been sending money. I've been paying. Maya interrupted. Kesha, your parents never saw that money. My entire body went cold. What do you mean they didn't, Maya? I send the money directly. No, Maya said gently. You sent it to Simone. I felt dizzy. No. I transferred it to my dad's account, my mom's account. I always... Maya's voice was barely above a whisper. Kesha, who set up that account? My knees buckled. I sat down. My breath came in fractured gasps because the memory hit me like a truck. Simone. Simone was the one who helped set up the account when my dad first got injured. She said it would be easier if she handled the paperwork. She said my parents were too stressed. She said she'd manage the bills until things got better. I felt the room tilt. No, tears filled my eyes. No. Maya placed a steady hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Kesha, she whispered, but I think Simone's been taking your money and not paying the bills. My entire chest collapsed inward. And I think your parents don't know what she's done. My voice shook violently. How long? Maya swallowed. This notice says they're 6 months behind. 6 months, 6 months of money, 6 months of my savings, 6 months of my effort, 6 months of my trust, 6 months of believing I was helping my family, when in reality I was funding Simone's entire life. I felt a scream clawing its way up my throat, not of anger, not of sadness, but of betrayal so deep it reached the bone. Maya pulled me into her arms as my whole body shook. You didn't fail anyone, she whispered. She did. I clutched her shirt, sobbing silently into her shoulder. Because my mind wasn't thinking anymore, it was unraveling. Then Maya whispered something that made my blood turn to ice. Kesha, that SUV wasn't the beginning, it was the end of whatever Simone is hiding. I pulled back, eyes wide. What do you mean? Maya looked at me with eyes full of truth and fear. Kesha, people don't burn through this much money unless something is chasing them. And if she's desperate enough to steal your identity, she's desperate enough to do something even worse. A cold shiver crawled down my spine. I felt it in my bones. Whatever Simone was hiding, it was big, bigger than fraud, bigger than debt, bigger than anything I'd ever imagined. Maya continued, and if you don't find out what it is, it's going to swallow your entire family. And in that moment, I realized Simone wasn't the only danger. The real threat was whatever she was running from, and it was coming straight for us. I sat there, staring at Maya, feeling like the floor under me had cracked open and I was free falling into something dark and bottomless. What do you mean something is coming? I whispered. Maya rubbed her forehead, choosing her words carefully. I didn't want to tell you until I was sure, but I think someone's been watching your parents' house. My blood ran cold. Watching them as in who? Maya hesitated. Not neighbors, not friends, someone else. My heartbeat thudded so loud I could hear it in my ears. What did you see? She pulled up her phone and tapped a video. It showed a white sedan parked across the street from my parents' house. Not moving, not running, just sitting there with tinted windows. This car has been outside 3 days in a row, Maya said. Never gets out, never knocks. Just sits. I leaned closer. Did you get a plate? She nodded and scrolled to a photo. A grainy license plate, slightly covered in dirt. I squinted, trying to read the numbers, but it wasn't the plate that held my attention. It was the decal, a repo company decal. My breath caught. A repo truck? No, Maya shook her head. Worse. She zoomed in on the windshield. There was a second sticker, something government issued. I froze. Is that? Maya nodded slowly. A Federal Lien Recovery Division. I felt the color drain from my face. Federal, my voice cracked. Maya, federal what? Federal who? For what reason? She locked eyes with me. Kesha, they don't sit outside people's houses unless someone owes a lot, or unless there's fraud, or unless an investigation is already open. My entire body turned to stone. You think they're here because of Simone? Maya didn't answer. She didn't have to. The truth was glaring. Everything fit too well. The secrecy, the mail disappearing, the accounts changing, the new SUV, the credit checks, the fake signatures, the missing money, the panicked behavior, the sudden arguments with my mother, the way Simone answered calls in the garage, the way Chad kept saying clean ones. And now, a federal recovery vehicle quietly watching my parents' house for days. I whispered, barely breathing, Maya, what did they do? She lowered her eyes. I don't know, but I do know this. They're not just using you. They're hiding behind you. I felt a crushing tightness in my chest. They're using my identity to cover theirs, I whispered. To survive, Maya corrected softly. My hands shook as I pressed them to my face. Oh my God, Simone and Chad are using me as a shield. Maya nodded. And you won't like what happens when the shield breaks. A wave of nausea hit me. If the feds were sniffing around, if creditors were circling, if Simone had taken my money, if she had applied for a car in my name, if she'd taken out cards and accounts, if she was hiding this much, then what else was connected to my identity? My head spun. What do? I whispered. Maya looked at me with the kind of seriousness you only see when someone is about to say something life-changing. You need to protect yourself right now. How? Freeze your credit. Immediately, I blinked. Right now, before Simone tries anything else. My hands trembled as I grabbed my phone, logged into my credit bureau account, and hit the freeze button. A giant red banner appeared. Your credit has been frozen. No new accounts can be opened. I exhaled shakily. Good, Maya said. That's step 1. What's step 2? I asked, bracing myself. She didn't hesitate. You need to talk to your parents tonight. Before Simone gets home, before she spins a story, before she hides anything else, before whatever mess she created reaches your doorstep. My stomach twisted. I can't just walk in and... Yes, Maya cut in firmly. You can. And you have to. I stood slowly, feeling the weight of everything pressing into my spine. Fear, anger, confusion, shock, but beneath all of that, something new. Resolve. This ends tonight, I whispered. Maya nodded. I'll drive behind you in my own car, just in case. Just in case what? I asked. She gave me a hard stare. In case Simone tries to run. My breath froze. Run. Why would she run? Maya picked up the flash drive and tucked it into her purse. Kesha, people who steal identities don't run. People who are avoiding something far bigger, they do. The air left my lungs. I grabbed my bag, my keys, my jacket. As I headed to the door, Maya placed a hand on my arm. "Prepare yourself for whatever you find in that house," she warned gently, "because I don't think you've uncovered the worst of it yet." A chill ripped down my spine. "What does that mean?" She hesitated, then spoke carefully. "I've seen desperate people make desperate choices. And Kesha, Simone isn't acting like someone who made a mistake. She's acting like someone who's about to lose everything." My throat tightened. "What do you think she's going to do?" Maya stared at me with eyes full of fear. "I don't know, but you better get there before she decides what happens next." I clutched my keys tighter because suddenly a horrifying thought dawned on me. If Simone realized her access to my credit was frozen, if she realized I knew about the SUV, if she realized Maya saw everything, if she realized I was about to confront her, would she try to escape? Or worse, would she try to drag my parents down with her? My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. "Kesha," Maya said steadily, "go, now." I nodded and headed for the door, but just as I reached for the handle, my phone buzzed. A new message from my mother. "Mom, Kesha, please come home. Something is happening with Simone." My heartbeat stopped. Another message came instantly. "Mom, hurry." And in that instant, I knew I wasn't going home to confront Simone. I was going home to stop something terrible before it was too late. Maya's warning felt like an aftershock that followed me all the way to the dealership. If she was right, if Simone had not only been stealing under my name, but had dragged dangerous people onto our doorstep, then nothing about this night could be ordinary. My hands were still shaking when I pushed through the glass doors of the dealership. The showroom was bright and too clean, full of the soft smell of leather and new car polish. A receptionist glanced up. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Someone tried to buy a car in my name here," I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. When he led me to an office and closed the door, the man behind the desk introduced himself as Marcus. He was in his late 30s, neat haircut, navy blazer. Nothing about him screamed menace. He slid a folder across the desk before I even took a breath. "We flagged the application as suspicious," Marcus said. "It came through with your name, but ID checks didn't line up. We hold transactions when there's an inconsistency." My chest started to tighten. "So you have the application?" He tapped the folder. "Right here, paperwork, signature. Delivery info, the guy who signed for it, we have footage." He swore under his breath, the kind of annoyance that meant someone had tried to bend the rules and been caught. He didn't waste time with sympathy. He opened the folder and laid out a single contract, a photograph of a black SUV, and a printout with a delivery address, my parents' house. On the contract, my name was printed. The signature looked practiced, close enough to fool a clerk who didn't scrutinize, but not mine. There was also a note on the top of the file, delivered, SIGNED, and a timestamp. "Why would someone deliver a financed vehicle to my parents' address?" I asked, nausea rising. Marcus didn't answer with a guess. Instead, he pulled a USB drive from his drawer and clicked a security clip. On the screen, a deliveryman steps up the porch. Simone opens the door and held up to the camera, my driver's license. She hands it to the man as if it's hers. He signs the contract, she signs the form, and the couch arrived later that afternoon. My hands were numb by the time the video ended. "Who brought it here?" I asked, voice thinner than I liked. Marcus looked at me, judgmentless. "She did, but the signatures were on the finance contracts. We do our checks. This passed because the ID looked valid. The registration matched your name and social. Whoever did this had access to your documents. That's identity theft." I swallowed hard. "Do you have contact info for the delivery company?" "For the salesperson who handled the sale," he handed me a card. "We cooperate with law enforcement. If you want to file a report, start there. We'll place a hold, but if the financing has been approved through the bank, it's messy." There it was. The legal language that would turn my life into a paper war if I let it. Marcus's careful, businesslike tone was a thin cover over the fact that someone had engineered this to look seamless. Someone had used my life as a shell. As I left the dealership, Marcus called out, "Be careful. People who traffic in fraud tend to escalate." The words landed like an omen. I called Maya on the way to my parents' house and told her the essentials. Vehicle contract, footage, delivery address. She wanted me to call the police right then, but I knew calling the cops in my parents' home, before I understood who had done what, risked crushing the whole family. I needed a controlled confrontation. I needed facts. I needed the folder. I arrived at the house like a professional returning to a crime scene. The porch light threw long shadows across the yard. Inside, the house smelled of coffee and toddler toys and something I'd not felt in a while, vulnerability. Where were you? My mother asked before I could get my keys off. Dealership, I said, sit down. Everyone, they obeyed like people who believed the woman who fixed everything could explain everything. Simone fidgeted with her phone. Chad hovered near the door like a man afraid of being called to work. I laid the folder on the kitchen table and opened it. The contract, the photograph, video stills, the delivery address, pages of a credit application. One document stood out. A finance application with a forged proof of residence, a forged utility bill that had been created to match my name and my parents' address. Whoever signed for this used an ID from inside this house, I said, looking up at them. Simone brought the furniture and handed the delivery man an ID. Simone's mouth went slack. Her face was pale and then burning with something like shame and panic and calculation. My father's jaw tightened. My mother's hands flew to her mouth. No, my father said slowly. No, Simone, is this true? My sister's eyes darted to Chad and back to me. Kesha, I can explain. Explain. Simone's voice was not a defense so much as a plea. We were trying to get back on our feet. We needed to furnish the apartment. I thought we could pay it back before it mattered. By using my name, I said. The question wasn't loud, but the room heard it like a bell. Simone flinched. She reached for a defense she'd used for years. Charm, atonement, blame. I thought you wouldn't care. You're rich. You always are. It would be easier this way. You didn't mean. My voice rose despite myself. You don't get to choose the harm you cause by not meaning anything. Someone signed contracts in my name. Someone put my credit at risk. Someone used my identity to take out loans. Chad suddenly backed toward the hallway, looking smaller than the man who once swaggered into the living room with dreams. Kesh, babe, look, it was supposed to be a temporary thing. We were flipping stuff. It's how you survive, my father's voice cracked. You used your sister's name, you used Frank's home, you put this family at risk. Simone's shoulders shook. For a second there was real distress, not because she had been caught, but because the illusion she'd been living in had ruptured. I thought I could fix it, she said, voice small. Chad said it would be okay. We sold some things, we made payments, you thought you could steal someone's life and nobody would ever notice? I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, and then, startling everyone, she said something that made my stomach drop. We were borrowing from Ghost. The kitchen went utterly quiet. My father's forehead creased. Ghost, Simone nodded, blinks wet. He runs the deals. He said he'd help us get clean identities. He said any charges would be ours to manage, but we could make money flipping the goods. He said he wouldn't hurt us if we kept up. We thought we could pay it back, but it got bigger. We took bigger things. He wants the money. He's not patient. My skin went ice cold. I wanted to belittle the name, Ghost, a nickname, but Simone's voice betrayed terror. He said, tell her I don't knock twice, she whispered, and I felt it like a blow. That line, a casual brag from my sister, became a threat. My father looked like he'd been punched. Who is Ghost? I asked, though part of me already knew from the panic in Simone's voice. Simone shook her head. I don't know his real name. He doesn't use it. He's a man who moves money. He's got people. He said if we missed a payment, he'd find us. He said if he can't find the buyer, he finds the house. A silence that felt like a held breath hung in the room. My mother's lips trembled. Chad's eyes darted toward the back door and then to his phone as if making an escape plan. I remembered the neighbor's text. We have video. He asked for ID. She handed him something with your picture. The neighbor had warned me and she'd been afraid to speak up. The fear in that message was now more than plausible. It was urgent. Listen to me, I said, voice steady now. The part of me I'd spent years sharpening into a career, negotiating contracts and managing crises taking over. This is still our home. I will not let a man threaten my parents in their own house, but nobody hides a crime like this. We do what's right and we protect ourselves. My father reached for my hand, fingers shaking. Kesha, you can't involve the police against your own sister. You didn't mention the mortgage, I said. You hid a second mortgage. You walked blind while Simone was using our names behind our backs. This is not just about money. This is about criminal activity conducted from under our roof. My mother burst into tears. We were ashamed. We were trying to keep it together. You put me at risk, I said softly. You put everyone at risk, Simone's shoulders hunched. I thought if I borrowed, if I flipped stuff, if I paid it back, I'd get the apartment back. I thought I could do it without anyone knowing. I didn't know Ghost would, her voice trailed off. The people in the house shifted, and outside the open window the night felt suddenly loud, wind in the trees, a distant dog barking. You have to call someone, my father whispered, fear-struck. If this ghost is real, yes, I said. We call the police, we call a lawyer, but we don't let panic rule us. Simone, you're going to tell everything truthfully. You're going to give us names, dates, where you met him, what you promised. If you protect him, I will protect myself. Simone nodded, the motion of surrender. She looked small in a way that made my anger ache into something else, pity, grief. But pity did not excuse the fact that my life had been used as currency. For the first time in my life, the impulse to fix, to pay, to cover up did not seem like love. It felt like complicity. I stayed the night at a friend's place. I called a lawyer at dawn and scheduled an appointment. I notified Marcus that I intended to file a fraud report. I asked Maya to send the neighbor a message telling them I appreciated their help and to stay anonymous. All the boxes that needed ticking were being ticked, yet nothing could prepare me for the knock. I returned to the house late that afternoon. The sun was low but still warm on my back as I walked up the front steps. The porch light flickered to life at my approach. Something about the light made the shadow at the end of the driveway look wrong, too deliberate. I noticed footprints in the wet ground leading from the street to the mailbox. They were fresh and heavy, the shape of a boot, not a neighbor's sneaker or a delivery driver's scuff. My heart, stupid and traitorous, sped. I stood still long enough to notice the mailbox. It was open and the flaps hung slack. The paper inside had been rifled. Someone had gone through the mail. The screen door was unlocked. The porch swing creaked. I stepped inside slowly. There was a silence that tasted like calm before a storm. Then, from the other side of the house, a sound like a soft boot on hardwood. Someone moving inside, deliberate, patient. I froze, and the world condensed into the thumping of my pulse. A shadow detached itself from the hallway doorway, and a man stepped into the porch light. He wore a dark coat. He was not bulky, not showy, but he filled the space like someone who knew how to take rooms without announcing himself. His face was clean-shaven, his hair cropped close. The most striking thing, the thing that should have been a normal detail but instead lodged like a brand in my memory, was the silver ring on his right hand. A wolf, finely detailed, its teeth caught in a tiny hoop. He didn't smile. He didn't fidget. He looked at me with the cold steadiness of weather. "Mrs. Thompson?" he asked, his voice low and soft. It was not threatening in volume. It was threatening in intent. "No," I said, "I'm Kesha." The man's eyes flicked not at my face, but at the house. The living room window, the photographs on the mantle, the framed family portraits. He took it all in like a man making a map. "Tell Simone I don't knock twice," he said, tapping his wolf ring with his thumb as if it were punctuation. My limbs went numb. The ring flashed in the setting sun. I wanted to scream, to run, to push him, to do anything, but shock policed me into inaction. The man took one step closer and then another, his boots whispering against the wood. "You have until dusk," he said. "After that, I find what I want. That's a promise." He turned slowly and walked away without another look. The sound of his boots receded down the path until all that was left was the echo. I stumbled back inside, slammed the door, locked it, and put every deadbolt I could find in a shaking hand. Simone's face, when I told her, was a waterfall of fear. Chad was nowhere to be seen. My mother sat down heavily and began to sob. My father stood with his hands pressed together, his face hollow. Everything had changed in a single taut moment. Simone's gossip about easy fixes, Chad's half-baked schemes, my parents' secrecy, all of it had allowed a predator to find our address and walk up our porch. I had choices now: pull the threads and watch the house unravel in public with police, lawyers, and paperwork, or try to quietly secure my family and hope the man would leave. But when someone taps a wolf ring and says, "I don't knock twice," hope is a small luxury. They thought I'd be the same woman who always paid the bill. They thought my love would save them. But I had been replaced by someone else now, someone who would not be used, and the wolf ring meant the clock had started. The house was too quiet, no cartoons on the TV, no dishes clanking in the sink, no restless footsteps pacing the hall, just silence. I locked the door behind me, every nerve in my body wired tight. Dad sat on the couch, a hand pressed against his chest. Mom hovered beside him, pale and shaking. Simone paced the kitchen like a trapped animal, wild-eyed, breathing too fast. There was no sign of Chad. The air tasted like fear. I took a breath. "Where is he?" Mom's voice trembled. "He said he had to step out. He didn't say for what." We all knew what that meant. He ran. Simone froze when she heard my voice, her eyes darting toward me like I was the enemy, not the sister who once saved her from every stupid choice she made. "I handled it," I said firmly. "The police are already on their way." Dad lowered his head. Shame pressed into the wrinkles around his eyes. His voice cracked like something inside him finally broke. I was supposed to protect this house, he whispered. I failed my girls. I stepped closer and gently touched his shoulder. No, my voice was steady, stronger than I had ever heard it. You raise someone who can. His breath hitched and he nodded, tears filling his eyes. Simone's shoulders slumped as if those words crushed the last lie she had been clinging to. She stared at me. Kesha, I'm scared. You should be. Her lips parted at my bluntness, tears sliding silently down her face. You didn't just betray me, I continued. You handed over our entire family like collateral. Simone shook her head fast. I didn't know who he was at first. Chad said we were just flipping stuff. Then we owed money. Then he wanted more. I thought you would fix it. You're not sorry, I cut in quietly. You're sorry you got caught. She crumpled, sinking to the floor beside the fridge like her legs couldn't carry the weight of her choices anymore. A sudden vibration rattled the counter, my phone, a text from an unknown number. I'm already here. 3 slow knocks followed. Boom, 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 deep, heavy, deliberate. Mom gasped and grabbed Dad's arm. Simone covered her mouth with both hands as though she could swallow the sound. My phone buzzed again. Alone, he wanted me. A surge of adrenaline hit so hard my hands shook. I walked toward the door anyway, not running, not crying, not begging, just walking. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. The porch light glowed through the frosted glass, haloing a tall shadow outside. I'm calling the police, I said through the door, a beat, then a calm, low voice from the other side. You think they scare me? My chest locked tight. You owe nothing. That sister of yours owes everything. She promised you'd take care of it. He spoke my name like a threat, a soft knife sliding across skin. Kesha, behind me, Simone whimpered. Dad tried to stand, pain dragging him back. Mom clutched his arm, terrified. My heart hammered so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts, but I didn't move. Tell her, he said, voice flat as death, I don't knock twice. My hand trembled on the knob until sirens split the night. Red and blue lights flashed across the walls. Ghost didn't run. He turned his head slightly like he expected them. Then he whispered through the door, you did good, but this isn't finished. He stepped off the porch just as multiple officers swarmed the yard. Commands blared through the cold night air. Hands up, don't move. For a moment, I thought he'd fight, but Ghost lifted his hands, slow and unbothered, like he was just stretching. An officer grabbed his wrist. Ghost twisted, fast, brutal, sending the officer stumbling. Gun barrels snapped upward. Don't, but Ghost only smirked and raised his hands again, surrendering with a tiny, mocking bow. One detail burned into my vision as they cuffed him. The wolf ring on his finger, sharp silver fangs, eyes like tiny black stones, a predator's promise. The moment they pulled him away, Simone collapsed fully, sobbing, clutching her chest. Mom rushed to her. Dad tried to rise again, but I put a hand on his shoulder. Sit, you're safe now. He looked up at me, not as a daughter, but as the person who had just saved his family. I'm so proud of you, he whispered. My throat tightened, but I stayed composed. Someone had to. An officer stepped inside. Miss Robinson will need a statement, and we found forged loan documents in your name in their car. We believe the boyfriend, Chad, fled 2 hours ago. We put out a bolo on him. Of course he did. The coward always runs first. Simone's sobs broke into choked wails. The officer continued. He'll be caught, eventually. I nodded. Quiet, cold, controlled. When the officer stepped back out, Simone crawled toward me on her knees like a child begging a parent. Kesha, I don't want to go to jail. Please, please don't let them take me. Mom's tears soaked her shirt as she held Simone tight. She's still your sister, she cried. I looked down at the girl who once slept beside me in our childhood room, who stole my clothes, my makeup, and now my identity. The sister who delivered a monster to our door. You let him in, I said softly. You gave him my name. You put Mom and Dad in danger. You let Chad disappear while you hid behind us. Simone tried to grab me. I stepped back. I saved this family tonight, I finished, but I'm done saving you. Her sobbing turned into a scream, a raw, desperate sound tearing out of her. You can't leave me. I didn't respond because she was wrong. I could. And for the first time in my life, I did. I turned away as the officers guided her outside. Parents clung to each other in the living room, both crying silently now that the danger had passed. When the front door shut behind Simone, the entire house sagged into painful quiet again. Dad reached for my hand. Thank you, he whispered. For a moment, I let myself feel the weight lifting, the chains snapping. I wasn't the family's backbone anymore. I was simply someone who survived them. I stepped outside into the cold. Ghost was already locked in the back of a patrol car, head turned toward me, not angry, just patient. Like he knew this wasn't the last time we'd see each other. He tapped the ring once against the window, clink, a warning, a promise. My skin crawled. Then the car pulled away, tires crunching over the frozen curb. Simone screamed from another cruiser, her voice fading into the night. Chad, somewhere running for his life. Justice took two different forms tonight, and neither one was gentle. I walked to my car, breath frosting in the dark. The street was calm, the moonlight bright. For the first time in years, my heartbeat finally slowed. This wasn't victory, it was survival. The police lights disappeared around the corner and silence returned. A new kind of silence. One that didn't feel terrifying, just free. I opened my car door, slipped inside, and let the warmth of the heater thaw the last chill of fear from my bones. No matter what came next, I had learned the one lesson it took almost losing everything to discover. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do for family is walk away from the ones who won't stop hurting you. I didn't look back when I drove off. I didn't need to. The past was behind me, and I was finally choosing myself. I saved me.